The Home Office has no idea how many asylum seekers have gone missing. The Home Office has no data on a third of people who have claimed asylum in the last 3 years. That is tens of thousands of illegal immigrants who could have just vanished. But I think I know why they have. 1 in every 100 illegal immigrants in migrant hotels has been convicted of a crime, has been charged with a crime, or is wanted for a crime. So what do? Well, they just leg it, don't they? This is the reality. It won't just be well-meaning refugees from war-torn countries. Some of these people on the loose will be dangerous criminals. Some of them will have nothing to lose. 40% of failed asylum seekers are still living in Britain. Loads of them are still being paid for by you, the taxpayer. So you've been told that you've been deported. And, what do? Are you just going to hang around and wait for your flight home? Or are you going to disappear as well? And it's still taking ages to decide applications. And people get to appeal those applications loads of times. The cost of supporting people seeking asylum was about £4.9 billion for the year just gone. Of that total, accommodation and support made up the biggest amount of £3.4 billion, of which hotels were £2.1 billion. Now, just think about this. You are waiting for your asylum claim to be processed. Now, you're not sure if you're going to be accepted. What do? Oh, yes, start a family. This Palestinian man came on a tourist visa 2 years ago, then claimed asylum. He's met a lovely English woman, and now they're having a child together. Now, I'm sure this is a genuine relationship, but it begs the question, how easy do we make it for people to set roots down in Britain and make it almost impossible for us to deport them? We've got so many illegals that we're running out of hotels. So now they're going to be put in disused army barracks. Well, the locals aren't happy. Today, the people of Crowborough in East Sussex have applied for a judicial review to prevent 600 male asylum seekers being dumped in their town without proper planning permission, public consultation or safety considerations. And they are right to be worried. Because just to bring us full circle, how many of those migrants at that army barracks are just going to go missing? What's the Prime Minister going to do about it, though? Oh, he's going to urge European leaders to change the ECHR to make it easier to deport people. Look, give me a break. Sir Keir Starmer and his great friend, our Attorney General, have spent their entire careers practically making love to the ECHR. Here's Lord Hermer.
Now, I'm proud to say that since taking office, this new United Kingdom government has taken steps to uphold our obligations and the international rules-based system. The new United Kingdom government will never withdraw from the European Convention on Human Rights or refuse to comply with judgments of the court.
Right, well, there you go. So that's that then, isn't it, really? This is all just 1 day's worth of news. Everything I've just told you there, that was all just today's news. Just ridiculous, isn't it? Just utter migrant mayhem in the asylum seeker republic of Great Britain.
Using the internet without a VPN, a virtual private network, is a bit like taking to the road without car insurance. All it takes is one unlucky moment to cost you a lot of cash. This video's sponsor is Private Internet Access. They are the VPN to help keep day.
Let's get the thoughts of my panel. Director of Public Services, Mark Littlewood, political commentator, Chloe Dobbs, journalist and broadcaster, Nida Mishkov. Mark, so we don't know where a third of asylum seekers are.
I mean, the entire system is a disaster from top to toe, from soup to nuts, isn't it? I mean, everything is wrong with it. All of this talk about, well, let's try and interpret Articles 3 and 8 of the European Convention slightly differently. That is using a scalpel on the system, whereas what we need is a bazooka. Every single element of it's wrong. The legal protections are ridiculous and have been stretched beyond credibility. The ability to disappear into the system, effectively into the black market economy, or God knows where else, as you've just pointed out, Patrick, is high. Our ability to actually find people and remove them quickly is nearly zero. The length of time for processing a claim is ridiculous, 18 months on average, and then potentially further appeals. The whole lot is broken. It needs to be reset entirely from scratch, not nuanced through some new legal interpretation of some part of the Human Rights Act. So the law's got to be stricter. The burden of proof has to sit with the asylum seeker. There needs to be a time limit on how long they've got to put forward their claim. And if it fails, there needs to be very swift removal. None of that is happening. So all of this is going to get worse.
Yeah, and it's not a mystery as to why so many of them are absconding. When you look at that data from a while ago that was compiled by a detailed report in the Sun newspaper, that 1 out of every 100 asylum seekers in migrant hotels have either committed a crime or wanted for a crime or have been charged with a crime, it's understandable about why so many of them just leg it, isn't it?
Yeah, and we trust them. We trust them to act with goodwill. They can come in and out of the hotels whenever they want, and then when they have failed claims, they can just disappear into society. And they say, "Oh, please check in and tell the Home Office where you are, else you won't get your benefits." But they can get some job in the black market. So what happens with many people is their asylum claims are rejected, but then they just disappear. And the Home Office hope that one day they'll just turn up with goodwill at the deportation centre, and they never do. And what's really worrying is that you've got also from RAF Wethersfield. You showed the list, Patrick, on your show of that huge list of people who have disappeared, some of which had supposedly tested positive for tuberculosis, who are now out in society spreading that everywhere. That could be the next COVID, let's see. And it's really, really concerning. And I just think if we're going to have people coming in this country illegally, at least keep them detained until if and when their asylum claim is approved. You should have to stay in that hotel and not leave to be able to go out, commit crimes, potentially sexually assault women, whilst you're waiting to be assessed.
Well, this is it. They've got nothing to lose, these people. Once you dropped off the radar, probably, in my view, because you've either been rejected for asylum or you're wanted for a crime, you have absolutely nothing to lose. And just think about this, all of the hoo-ha, rightly so, that's made of, prisoners being mistakenly released recently and David Lammy copping it for that, fair enough, that's a disgrace. But the numbers here, that is tens of thousands of people that we have no idea where they are. That is a national emergency, Nina, isn't it?
Well, it is. I completely agree with you. But you can't just blame the Labour government, because we're talking about what happened under the Tories as well. And the system that we have now is what was set up by the Conservative government, the hotel system, which this government is trying to get away from. I subscribe to the Lib Dem view, which is to state that it's an emergency, to double the number of caseworkers to 4,000, to build Nightingale-style, processing places, and then within, if they're not processed within 3 months, find out and give them a right to work. Absolutely, why not? And I'd like to point out to you that you said 1 in 100, so that's 1% are criminals, and that's dreadful. But then there are the others who are not.
Well, that was just the people in asylum hotels, but yes.
Yeah.
Also, so 40% of people that we have refused asylum to are still in Britain.
Yep.
And we're paying for them.
Well, or they've disappeared into the black market or grey market economy or are doing God knows what.
Just think about that, because of the numbers where people say something like 70% of asylum seekers get approved, we know that only 3.5% of small boat migrants have ever been deported, right? So of the, you've got 70% of them that are being approved, and then of the people that have been rejected, 40% of them are still here anyway.
No, we think it's worse than that. But our understanding of that stat is they asked 5,000 people who have made a claim within the past 3 years what has happened, and some of those people have responded saying my claim was approved and I'm still here. So 40% of just 5,000 people who have made claims have had their claims rejected and have been able to say the actual, if you just look at people who have been rejected rejected, it's a tiny percentage that actually get
Rejected,
deported. I believe it's around 10%, according to the Oxford Migration Observatory, of people who have their asylum claims rejected
And are
actually
removed.
get kicked out. So we can speed up the processing, right? We can hire more caseworkers, but that's only useful if then the people that we reject, we can actually kick out.
So to your point, Patrick, on the numbers, once you put all these percentages together, these people are acting rationally, right? They're looking at the system and they're saying to themselves, what's the chance that my application will be accepted? Pretty high. Supposing it's refused, what's my chance of appeal? Pretty good. Supposing I lose appeals, what's my chances of just disappearing into the black market of the UK economy? So the odds look great if you're considering coming over here through an illegal route as an asylum seeker. And until you change those odds and people realise, actually, my chances are slim, my chances are poor.
And we can't even manage to send 50 people back to France a week.
Firstly, if they've disappeared into the black economy and they're working, these are people who want to work, so they're happy to work. Well, they're working. They're damn sight more of them are working than
so let's have a migration system where we own...
Excuse me, you've had your chance. The million young people who are not working, they were sitting in their rooms, these people have got off their bottoms and they've got here, OK? I'd also like to point out that when you're returning people, there are several things you have to know where to return them to. So if they've dumped their papers, where do you put them? Secondly, you have to have a country that will agree to take them back. And although we have agreements with some countries, that doesn't always work in practice.
The rest of Europe seems to be able to deal with this an awful lot better than we do.
I don't think they are.
Oh,
And they also take a lot more people than we do.
I think one of the things about this for me is just how cavalier this government and the previous government are with our safety, all of our safety, but especially the safety of women and girls. If you've got this volume of people on the run, absconding with nothing to lose, how can you sleep at night knowing that they are out there? I find that utterly astonishing. The other big news today was that in East Sussex at Crowborough, which is where one of these new asylum detention centres, I don't think they're not actually even going to be detained, it's just a holding pen.
Hang out there.
It's a hangout, it's a chill zone. So, a new asylum seeker village, right, which was a former army base. They've had to kick the cadets out in order to import all these fighting age males. There is an irony there, of course. Now the local people have actually said, well, we don't want that. Judicial review time. And they are saying that they've not done planning permission for this. They've not done a risk assessment. They've not even actually factored in that apparently there is some protected woodland nearby. I mean, honestly, next they're going to be saying that there's a rare breed of newts that means we can't do it, use it, throw the newts in. But, this is where we're at, though, isn't it?
This is where we're at, and I can understand the local fury of these people, that they are looking at it. They know the system is completely out of control, and in certain local areas like this one, you're going to bear the brunt of it. They have no faith in the system, so as you rightly say, these people are not going to be detained. Right? No, they're just going to have a place.
But we all agree that it's a disaster. So what, in practical terms, do you do?
Deport.
They are here.
So look at what Donald.
I've just said where to.
Anywhere.
Look at what Donald Trump said when that National Guard member was shot by an Afghan. He immediately said, right, that's it, no more migrants from Afghanistan. When we see rape after rape after rape in the news, we've just had that news of two Afghan teenagers raping a 15-year-old girl in Leamington Spa. Why isn't there a huge outcry from our politicians saying that's it? There is clearly a huge issue with the culture, with men coming from Afghanistan. That's it. We can have women and children from Afghanistan, but not a single.
But Nina's laid down.
Why aren't we acting like that?
Nina's laid down a fair gauntlet here. What is the solution? And I would say the solution is you leave the ECHR, you repeal the Human Rights Act, you make it plain that the burden of proof that you really are a person fleeing persecution is on the asylum seeker, not on the government to disprove it. And you start to get very swift on that process. You do it in days, not in years. And you find some imaginative solutions. Might not be Rwanda, could be Ascension Island.
It's going to be
somewhere else.
They're actually approaching North Macedonia now. So they're trying. They're trying.
The reality is that when you've got a human rights lawyer as Prime Minister, He's never going to do it. He's never going to leave the ECHR. He's never going to...
May I
do
say
it.
about the
We never do what's
ECHR?
required.
May I see if we leave the ECHR? A, it's going to take ages. B, Europe will not deal with that. And three, what about the Good Friday Agreement in
Takes 6
Ireland? You
months.
cannot transgress that.
OK, all right, so it's especially like the illegal migrant they brought on Question Time a week or so ago there, Nina, Northern Ireland Protocol. Anyway,
But it's true.
It's not true. They found a way. There's lots of lawyers who found ways.
Ireland is a tinderbox still.
Let me just
You're not
read the
obliged to
headline
stay
to
in.
you now. This is a headline because this is a case of every flipping day, right? Afghan asylum seeker charted his journey across Europe, posing in TikTok videos, clad in designer gear and a gold watch, before arriving in the UK, where he raped a 15-year-old schoolgirl. An article from earlier today in the Daily Mail. This is
Grim reading. Yeah.
It's grim reading, but it's happening. There's been a spike in this. It's happening. The reports of this are intensifying. When are we going to say enough
It's
is enough?
horrific. But the thing is, the more we concentrate on these cases, and they are dreadful, they are a drop in the ocean compared to what's happening up and down this country, within homes, everywhere. Women and young girls are being raped by people they know. And these rape cases, only 3% of them ever come to court.
But we don't need to add to it.
I know we don't need to add to it, but the thing is, when we concentrate on these other ones, we are actually negating...
We need to get tougher on crime across the board.
On this point of, just final point, but on this point of Sir Keir Starmer are now talking about how he wants to reform the ECHR. Yeah, people like Sir Keir Starmer and Lord Hermer have kind of metaphorically made passionate love to the ECHR for their entire professional careers. They've taken the ECHR out to dinner. They've bought the ECHR a nice bottle of red wine. You know, they've done all of this stuff with the ECHR. They've gone down on bended knee in front of it and begged it for marriage. And now they're saying, actually, we want to reform it. Do we trust them?
No, I mean, I think that they're just sort of tinkering at the edges. What we've heard today from them and from the Council of Europe is essentially saying maybe a few people who are convicted criminals already with ridiculous cases like the chicken nuggets ones, that will change. But at no point are they going to say scrap the ECHR, all illegal migrants can't stay. No chance.
They're not staying. Well, they're not asking for that. They're trying to change it.
Yeah,
so
I'm just saying a lot of people are getting very excited about this.
The change will only be at the margins.
Well, who are the ECHRs going, but it's not happening.
At best, the change will be at the margins.
Well, they're going in the right direction, aren't they?
A baby step. Baby step.
You need a bazooka, not a scalpel.
I think what could have been done all those years ago had people like Sir Keir Starmer and Lord Hermer not said that it would basically be akin to Nazism if we dared to change the ECHR. You know, just think where we would be now. But anyway, that was all one day's worth of Migrant Mayhem news, by the way, everybody. So, yeah, we wait with bated breath for tomorrow, don't we?